Hello. Good morning. Good mid-morning, good morning, or happy lunch hour. My name is Mary, and I'm so glad you're here for Quilt Nerd, the show where we nerd out on quilts, because quilts are more than just pretty blankets. It's true. Yeah, they have this magical quality to them, right? And it's not just, there's so much more. There's so much more to say about them, and I'll say it throughout the course of the show. But quilts are these, pathways to everything that I'm curious about, and maybe everything that you're curious about. I like to know about history. I like to think about art. I like to think about engineering and invention. I like to think about fashion and philosophy. And if you don't know, and so most of you who are in here do, but if you didn't know that quilts can really take you there, I invite you. I invite you to watch the show today. There's lots to say. There's so much content. This may be a longer show. We may be here for a while because, I have so much to show you. There's endless content when it comes to quilts because quilts touch all those areas of humanity, memory. I didn't even talk about that. Memory, family, lived experience, material culture, women, men. I've always said quilts are sexy. They go on the bed. Come on. I'm in a great mood. Excuse me. Hey, Feed Puppy. So Feed Puppy asks, are the images in the intro slides from previous episodes? I'd love to know more about them. Hey, Blobfish. Thank you for subscribing with Prime. You've subscribed for 3 months. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's great. If you're not subscribed, I encourage you to do it. And if Ivana is watching, I haven't looked through the folks yet, but anybody who's watching, I'm slowly getting the tier 2 subscription package together. We've talked about how if you subscribe at $9.99 a month, and no one has, because I have no idea, what to give you for that, and you have to be rewarded for these things. I want to reward you for these things. Vintage quilt postcards. I will send you personally a vintage postcard that is quilt related or quilt adjacent. We looked at some of them on a show a couple shows ago. They're amazing. But I have to think of something else. Once I get tier 3 subscriptions worked out, which is $24.99 a month, we're gonna get invited to a Quilt Nerd After Dark, whatever that means. We'll find out. And like a subscription to Quilt Folk or something. Okay, I can't promise that yet, but something like that. I should talk to Mike before I do anything like that. But it'll be good. It'll be real good. But Ivana was asking, how do I upgrade? From a $4.99 subscription to a $9.99. I have information about that. Got it ready to go. But anyway, however you subscribe, whatever level you subscribe at, and if you don't subscribe, that's cool. That's cool. Quilt Nerd is free. But I appreciate you. And if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you get a free Twitch subscription every month. Yeah. I recommend subscribing to Quilt Nerd. Yeah. Okay. So lots to say. I'm in a great mood. I have a little phlegm, but I'm good. I'm cool. In terms of, not wanting to get sick. Grateful for that. So I like these, mid-morning shows. It's 11 a.m. in Chicago. It's 5 p.m. in London. Sometimes I do the show at 5 p.m. in London, and it's 11 a.m. in Chicago. But I'm in the United States right now. It's really nice to be here. And on the YouTube channel, I hit 7,000 subscribers. And, relatively speaking, it's a pittance. But not relatively speaking, it's great. So if you don't subscribe to me, I have to do all of this, I want to talk about quilts and things, but I have to do this stuff. This is the world we live in. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I hope you do. If you don't subscribe to my YouTube channel, I hope you'll consider it. And of course, I hope you watch this show 3 times a week at least. But that's one of my first announcements. Let me say hi to some people so it doesn't get out of hand. I don't want things to get out of hand. Ivy Kadivi's here. Okay, Proud. Good morning from freezing cold Oklahoma City. Okay, Proud. Oklahoma Proud. I get it. Okay, I get it. It took me a second. We have several Oklahomans in who are part of the Quilt Nerd community. Oh, it is a community. It's a growing community. It's interesting. have metrics, I have metrics I can look at for these things, and it's exciting. Okay. Sewing Karen. Are you sewing right now? I think you should. If you can, I think you should. Raffle Waffle. Hello. Caroline from Germany. White Timber Cottage. I'm so glad you're here. Queen Bee Quilting. Hello, Queen Bee Quilting. What kind of quilting do you do? Are you a long armor? Are you a hand quilter? Do you do everything? Probably. Dee Marie, hello. Weird connection. Keeps buffering steadily. Interesting. Off to YouTube. Interesting. Well, if that happens some more, I will need to understand. I will need to look at that. Not that I can do too much, but I can do some things. Fiandor coming in with the soundtrack. I'm glad. Oh yeah. One of my announcements. I haven't forgotten. I'm glad you're here, Fiandor. Jill Alex, I have. Oh yeah. Okay, I have something else to share today. I knew there was something else. I'm not gonna say what it is, because if we don't get to it, we'll get to it later. But yeah. That book, Jill? That book proposal? I've got the summary done. I worked on it, and it looks pretty good. I said I wasn't going to tell you, but now I just did. Well, I could read it to you. But anyway, I could read it on the show. Debbie, by the way, in the YouTubes, COVID Day 4, need some quilty inspiration to drive my blues away, girl. Don't go anywhere. I mean, that's a loaded statement. But you just sit tight. You just sit tight. I got this. We got this. We're gonna entertain you. We're gonna come around you. Psychically. You got this. Take care of yourself. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. So just, yes. I'm sorry that you're ill. God. Susan Button. Susan Button. Well, I don't mean to infantilize you, but that's adorable. That's an adorable name, Susan Button, indeed. Robin, hello, good morning. Yeah, everyone's wishing you well, Debbie. And Cindy is working. Hello, Cindy D. You're working on some repairs on a 30-year-old quilt top. Fabulous. Oh, how interesting. You're repairing a quilt top. You're restoring a piece of American history instead of cutting it up to make a pair of pants. Thank you. I started hand quilting it back then. 30 years ago. Wow. But my hands could not handle it. Really? So you're going to send it to a long armor. I know a good one. Ivana. Quilt Tops by Ivana. You can get in touch. And let's see. Yep. Jill, nobody's taking chances. I think that's very good. Remember, getting sick, most of us, especially now, most of us are going to be okay. It's going to be really lousy, but we'll be okay. But you got to stay well for the nurses. Don't do it to them. Because if you get really sick and you got to go to the hospital, they just have too many. They have too much, The doctors too, of course. Like all the essential workers, they do it for them, Do it for them. We can all handle a little bit of the flu. Well, not all of us, but you know what I'm saying, It's not about you. It's about them. Do it for them. I'm staying home. I love staying home. It's totally cool with me. I'm lucky that I can. CB Mac, hello. Joyous Fibers, good morning. Oh, I can't. I've done minimal makeup today because after I get done with this, I'm refilming the parts of the video that I'm making. So it's exciting. That's another thing that's happening. Blobfish, good morning and thank you for subscribing again. Hannah Painter. We have Susan Button and Hannah Painter. All of these nouns. I love it. Fabric history is your thing, Debbie Rice? I'm doing the turkey red. We're going to talk about turkey red today because I didn't the other day. But I was on for almost 3 hours the other day. I couldn't do it. But we're going to do what I was going to do last stream, and we're going to look at this. Barbara Brackman, Clues in the Calico, a guide to identifying and dating antique quilts. And if you don't think that sounds gripping, you're wrong. It's going to be great. And yeah, I'm really glad all of you are here. So, okay, Little Bird Stitch, good morning. Loving the multimedia action. Listen, just this thing, sometimes I find that the quilt behind me changes every show. I always have a different thing, a different quilt behind me to talk about, to open the show. It just happened very organically. The green screen is awesome. Totally love it. And so, we talk about the quilt behind me, and this one, this one came in right at the end of me planning everything today. As you know, this is also a thing we do. I show you my Quilt Nerd content plan because I'm very proud of my form. If you like office supplies, you'll love making quilts. This is a fundamental truth of the universe. Wait, just Little Bird Stitch, you're going to everyone will love the story of what this is. Nose to quilts. Nose to quilts. It's good to see you. Are you Welsh? Yes. I read something the other day that made me think that's possible. Word and Burdener just got the notification. Been busy diving into the newly released 1921 UK census. I think you may get the Quilt Nerd Award today. Who can really top that? Anyone else busy reading the UK 1921 census? If you are, you also get that. Sewing Karen is sewing right now, little bitty hexagons. Excellent. Okay, good. 5Z says things sound good to him in terms of buffering and things. So I hope that stays that way. Elizabeth in YouTube, good day. Working on a quilt for a senior student. A senior student graduating in May. Minky on the back. Minky on the back. That sounds like some kind of saying. Oh, I got Minky on the back. I got Minky on the back today. Minky, if you don't know, is this wonderful synthetic softest. It's like mink. It feels soft as mink, but no animals were harmed. Not directly in the making of it. Brendan, okay, I got a good one. Faith, hello. Still buffering. Deemer, is anybody else? Are other people buffering? It seems to be. You know what, Deemery, you might restart or close your browser maybe and start again. And sometimes people have better luck in general with Firefox, just on all the things. Sometimes, weirdly, I don't really use it, but sometimes I do because nothing works elsewhere. So check that. But I'm watching. Amy Renee, Quilting Politic, and I think I'm caught up. Okay, great. So the big announcement. I need a Kleenex. I'm sorry. I'm just a little, phlegmy, as I mentioned. Sorry. Some days I just get like this. Everyone's a little bit worried, right? When you have a sniffle or anything, it's like, anyway. So, but I think I'm all right. Tomorrow night, Friday night, okay, at 7 p.m. Central Time. And I know it makes it harder for my friends in Europe, okay, and elsewhere. But it's just midnight over there, right? If you're in the East Coast. Oh, wait. Well, anyway, I'm not going to do that math. But what I'm going to do tomorrow night is going to be a Quilter's Newsletter Friday. And what that means is we're just going to hang out and look through old issues of Quilter's Newsletter. And if you're a quilt person of a certain age, you'll know why this would be fun. Quilter's Newsletter was started in 1969 by a woman named Bonnie Lehman, who she started it at her kitchen table. I just imagine this woman, this young mother, an avid quilter, making pot after pot of coffee in her Osterizer coffee pot or something. That just came to me, that brand name, Black & Decker, I don't know. And she started this newsletter, and it was like a mimeographed, stapled thing in 1969. Okay, so way before the bicentennial, right? So the bicentennial and the quilt and the exhibit at the Whitney, we just credit all of this stuff with launching the quilt world as we know it, the revival. But that's not exactly right. It's not totally right. It's partly right. But Bonnie Lehman, she's doing her thing. 1969, Quilter's Newsletter would go on to, I don't have the copy because it's on the scanner, but Quilter's Newsletter would go on to, have a circulation of, 400,000. My mom's magazine, not to whatever, but Mom and Liz's magazine, I think at its peak was at 350,000 subscribers. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's a lot. That's a lot, okay? But I think Quilter's Newsletter, probably on more. I don't know. But Bonnie Lehman shaped the quilt world as we know it. She was hugely influential. She was a great editor. And so I've got, partly thanks to some of you all who send me things. Okay, Dee Marie, connection's just not for you today. Well, I don't like that. But if you can watch it on YouTube, I hope you can. I hope you can. Mr. Coffee Maker, exactly. So she's a great editor. The Quilters Newsletter magazine is just, and I'm talking the vintage issues. Okay, so we're gonna look at, an issue from 1989. And I'm gonna have a few of them ready because I don't know how this is gonna go. We might go through a magazine pretty quickly. I don't want to. What else am I doing on a Friday night? So I'm gonna scan a few. We'll see how it goes, and I'm working out this thing where I can draw on the screen, which I think would be really good because obviously I'm not just gonna look at magazines like here and be like, oh, that's cool. No, I'm gonna put it up on the screen just like this. But I won't be. I'll make myself small so you don't see me. Okay, but. We're going to go through, and so I'll be able to point things out and circle stuff. It's going to be great. And I just think this could become a tradition. I don't know. Putting content for the show together, like you'll see today, takes, a good amount of time because I want it to be awesome. But it's like easy street to read just a full magazine with you all. So we're going to look at vintage issues of Quilters Newsletter magazine tomorrow night, Quilt Nerd. I hope you'll tune in. It's going to be great. These magazines, as I put in my Instagram post a couple hours ago, Quilters Newsletter, the vintage issues, remind me, by the way, Quilt Folk magazine is the best magazine to come along since Quilters Newsletter. This is a fact, just period. Okay. Quilters Newsletter, which folded in 2016 because no one at the company that bought it knew what to do with it. It's a tragedy. I can't talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow and I'll cry. Probably will. These old issues remind me of what we're doing here and why it's important and how things could be done. I mean, we talk about the quilt community, but to be perfectly honest with you, there's not really a magazine. Quilt Folk is that magazine. I don't want to say that, but there's not Quilt Folk is quarterly. It's brilliant, obviously. But Quilters Newsletter was about it was a little bit more, it came out every month. So you had this community vibe to it. Quilt Folk is a collector's item, brilliant portrait of quilting in America, okay? And there's never been a quilt magazine like that either. But Quilters Newsletter, I should just save all this content for tomorrow night. Quilters Newsletter is great, okay? And we're gonna just hang out and maybe it'll be a thing because it's so easy for me to get together. Okay, so that's happening tomorrow. I'm going to catch up on the Discord. I've been ausente for a few days. Got to catch up. And yeah, okay. Yeah, I made the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever made in my life. Look at this. Oh, man. But I have crisps. I have chips. Potato chips, because that's part of the thing here. So if you don't have potato chips, you've got time to get them. Run, get them. Okay? All right. Here's how, I said I would read it, so I got to read it. If you want to upgrade your subscription from the $4.99 level to the $9.99 level, I am the worst salesperson ever. Some people are so good at it, and I'm like, wow. But even saying, if you want to upgrade from the $9.99 level to I just am like, no, I don't know. But I hope you will. But you don't have to. What, so you can upgrade to, this is from the Twitch help page, okay? Hey, I'll even put it in the chat. I thought this morning before I went live to actually allow myself to put things in the chat. I don't know, a few streams ago I realized I couldn't chat in my own chat because I wasn't logged in. I don't know how that was possible. But anyway, so you can upgrade to a new option by clicking on the subscribe button. Okay. And I think for my channel, okay, I don't know. And then selecting all paid tiers and then picking the price point that you want to support the streamer at. Yeah. So I think you click subscribe on my page and then you can choose the option. And it also says it's not currently possible to purchase a tier 2 or 3 subscription on the mobile app, on Twitch app. You got to do that on a real computer or something like that. You need to set your subscription to expire first. Okay, and once the subscription has expired, you can upgrade. I think the best thing to say is that it's on that page, that link that I just put in there. And if you choose to explore it, that's awesome. That's great. Okay, I think that's the announcements. And yeah, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about the show. Let's talk about what we're doing here, and talk about the quilt behind me. You know what, Ivana? Thank you for renewing for 6 months. It's awesome. And you know what? In that time, I'll be able to figure out, just what you can get. And it'll be good. It's going to be good. I want it to be good. Robin is looking forward to the Quilters newsletter stream. That's awesome. That's awesome. Dip Fried from St. Louis, Missouri in the chat. Okay. So I think I talked about what this show is at the beginning. Let's just move on to this thing. Okay. So this quilt, this work of art, let's look at the whole thing, okay? This is the whole thing. Like I said, your renewal's coming up now. Dee Marie, if you do the upgrade, not that you need to, let us know how it goes, okay? If you do. Yeah, I found this toward the end of my content gathering, okay? And I was like, what is this wonderful thing? And I find this stuff, and I don't know how I find it. I go down the rabbit hole, like so many of you. Susan Armichael does this better than I do, right? Just like following her nose, like through the quilt internet and all this stuff. And we find these things, and that is what the show is about, is I want to share all this cool stuff that I find because I'm researching for lectures, or I'm researching for a video, or I'm researching for a book or something. And I come across the most wonderful things in the quilt world, beyond the quilt world. That's what's so important about, this show takes quilt nerds, like quilt people who love quilts, who like to know about quilts and make them, of course. There's so much more beyond the quilt world as we know it. And there's so much in the quilt world. Quilter's newsletter is part of the quilt world, and it's fascinating, but there's so much more out there that doesn't pierce our bubble until now, right? It's time. So I find these things, and I just have to share them with you because it's so important. It's so important. The quilt has a life beyond, just our patterns and our things, and they're so important, right? But there's more. Okay, I think I made my point. This quilt was made by Marilyn Olson and Richard Boulay. Okay, and it is from a collection of work called One Molecule. You might cry. I'm just like cry trigger warning. Okay, like tears. One Molecule of Perfect and Opulent. So it's from a show called One Molecule of Perfect and Opulent 2020. So Marilyn Olson and Richard Boulay. We're going to zoom in on this, but first I want to show you. This is Marilyn Olson. And, that dog is so cute. And this is Richard Boulay, okay? So I'm going to read to you from... Oh, they're Canadian. These are Canadians, okay? So we got much love for Canada today. This is from a website about the exhibit of this collection of work, okay, that was co-created by these two people, Marilyn and Richard, okay, in 2020. This is from artfromhere.ca, artfromhere.canada, and let's see. Hang on. Let me just see about Art From Here. Art From Here was developed in Canada, okay, to support artists and generate critical discourse. Oh, I got to get small. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. And create critical discourse, connection, and community. Okay. So, and then I'll just read a little. Art From Here brings focus to artists who are making work or thinking about how to make or not make work for and in this unprecedented environment, addressing community, collaboration, isolation, anxiety, technology, pressures of productivity, illness, and care. Now, that's a lot. You can explore Art From Here, but these kinds of organizations speak in language like that because it's very complicated. And art is like hard to describe. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. So, this artist's statement is an excerpt of what I'm going to read to you now, is an excerpt of Mark Klintberg's curatorial essay called One Molecule of Perfect, the collaborative work of Marilyn Olson and Richard Boulay, written for Richard and Marilyn's works featured in this gallery, this exhibit. Okay. It's a lot of setup, but it's important to have context. Here's what they say. There are ribbons and swaths of vibrantly tinted organza, lavender, and gray needle-felted sculptural pieces, a clear plastic bag filled with rainbow-dyed pom-poms, and countless other handmade textile fragments and mass-produced supplies, each of which has its ultimate purpose in the large-scale, layered, and complex textile collages that will be featured in Marilyn Olsen and Richard Boulet's upcoming show. It is January 2020, and I'm fortunate to visit these two artists' shared studio in Edmonton. Just buckle up for this. It's just unbelievable. There is a sense of anticipation in this studio where I am surrounded by their collaborative work and supplies. Text appears in many formats in this work. Boulet has an active daily writing practice. The subject of his writing is usually reflective and summarizes how he's feeling each day. Many texts he develops find their way into his artwork. Often, the cross-stitched works feature neologisms, reflecting what Boulet calls, quote, an alternate speech pattern for people with schizophrenia. Several works feature multiple crocheted bookmarks made by Olsen. That's the female, Marilyn Olsen, arranged to form individual letters, shapes, and words. The mental health benefits of handcraft are evident to these two artists. Olsen, who has experience in garment construction and making leather horse bridles, takes her crafting with her on trips to dog shows and on the bus. Boulet continually refers to cross-stitch as a means by which to manage anxiety. He always has needlework underway. For both artists, crafting is a routine pursuit and part of sustaining mental health. The title of this exhibition makes reference, to a perfect molecule. Sorry, this is the hard part. Boulet explains that this phrase, it's machine quilting there, as you can see, right? Boulet explains that this phrase is a positive affirmation. If a person has at least one perfect molecule in them, it is enough to give hope. Olsen adds to this, if there is one molecule of perfect in the world, there must be others. A central message of this exhibition, Richard explains to me, is the credo of, quote, mental health for everyone. And that art has been an important way for him to manage his mental health. Marilyn adds, quote, everything is art. There's art in everything. A bookmark, a doll's dress, or a flower. You can find art in it, unquote. Reflecting on the potency of these messages, the power of one perfect molecule, even inside of humans, as flawed as humans are, cannot be underestimated. Okay, so Marilyn Olsen is schizophrenic as well. So, no. Richard, yes, Boulet. Yes. Okay. Marilyn Olsen has bipolar disorder. Okay, so let me get that other thing that I found here. Yeah. Okay. Hang on now. Okay. Just a second. So obviously, let me just go back to this. There are other textiles in this work, right? But like the first piece I showed you, patchwork plays a huge part, right? And quilting. These are biscuit blocks, right? Or biscuit patches, they're stuffed, or puff quilts, right? Puff quilts. And then, and those appear, those elements, quilt elements, patchwork elements, appear in many parts of it, and machine quilting, hand stitching. I think it's amazing for the content that it contains, for the story of the people who are making this, and also because this is amazing construction to me. I mean, connecting crochet with with patchwork and felt and things, I mean, it's just not, this is not something that is easy to do, right? So, and the molecule of perfect, you know, one molecule of perfect in an otherwise like flawed human being, to me is just a beautiful, beautiful idea. So let me see one more. Yeah, that's it. So that's the intro quilt. I mean, I don't know. I want to read more about these artists. I want to read more about Marilyn in particular. I feel like there was another article that I had ready that, you know, now of course I can't find, but all of these links will be when I do the show notes for the last show and this show today. You'll be able to look more. But Marilyn Olson and Richard Boulay. Okay. So discombobulated. Yeah. No, and Padma, you haven't missed Turkey Red. Okay. Oh, good. Dee Marie has fixed tech issues. I'm glad. Hey, from Scratch by Jen. Padma, hi. Rusty Cat's here, and Kelly. Yeah. Okay. So and just before you move on to this other thing, this next thing that's just crazy interesting. The point of, you know, I just said earlier, like quilts are part of the you know, there's this huge part of the lives that we lead, right? People who love quilts often, usually really love them, right? And we look for them everywhere. And the fiber art, like that's a whole other thing. Somebody just said, you know, quilts are art, right? There's always this discussion about whether they are or not. And so it's interesting because like there's the world of fiber art, and I would say Olson and Boulay definitely belong to that world of fiber art. But I've been thinking about fiber art and what that means, you know, because there's some really great fiber art magazines out there, speaking of magazines. And of course, like fiber art was kind of, I mean, trailblazing for getting quilts into museums, I think, you know, these fiber art, Sheila Hicks, and anyway. So but quilts aren't really considered fiber art, are they? Like it's just so messy. It's so like whooshy, and the gray area, it's all gray area. And it's just endlessly interesting to me. And like I said last time, the last show, I feel like I'm missing something, because I think at the heart of it, whether you like it or not, you definitely don't have to like it. I think textiles and fabric and cloth, it's gendered to be female. And I just think that we're just not there as a world, as a society, to value the work of women. Damn it. I mean, it's like you can't get away from it. You can, and I do, because I think it sort of in some ways makes it worse to make it all about, you know, about that. You know, the world of quilts is so rich and so amazing. If you spend all your time sort of thinking like how we get a raw deal, you know, you miss a lot of stuff. But the truth is, it's just there. It's just standing right in front of us sometimes, you know, or all the time in the background or in front of our faces, that, you know, fiber, cloth, cotton, it's a domestic thing, man. It's like a mortal, you know, it's just we are covered in cloth. We make cloth to wrap around, you know, it's a domestic kind of thing. It's not some lofty abstract painting situation, right? It's material and cloth and it's domestic, and so that means it's women. And I think that the fiber art and the quilts, you know, we're not legitimized, right, because of that. It's really messed up. Anyway, so that's always on my mind, never far. So here. Oh, Susan Button. Ms. Button has been trying to figure out how she can add weaving and knitting to her newest addiction of quilting. Welcome to the quiltverse. You're toast. You're never getting out now. Especially if you're watching this show. This is great. This is great. I mean, for you to be here now, you're really gonna get obsessed. And so, yeah. Rusty Cat. This is a Zen question. And I like it. Okay, so this is Rosie Lee Tompkins. Some of you were there. One of my favorite shows was the Rosie Lee Tompkins deep dive we did months ago. And so I'm looking, what was I looking for? I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't even need to say that. I was looking for something, doing something. And I found, so this is the picture I have seen the most of Rosie Lee Tompkins. And Rosie Lee Tompkins is a quilter who made, 680 quilts or so, probably more. But we know that she made 680 quilts because 680 of her quilts were donated, bequeathed to the Berkeley Museum of Art, okay, a couple years ago. Eli Leon, it's a whole story. You should go back and watch the Rosie Lee Tompkins show. It's on YouTube. You can see it. I read a whole big article from the New York Times about Rosie Lee Tompkins. I have it pulled up here just to sort of, give you an idea. I mean, Roberta Smith, who's one of the main, or the most lauded, right, New York Times art critic, says, and this is from 2020 when these quilts went to the Berkeley Museum of Art, and she says years before, in 1997, this is Roberta Smith from the New York Times, I walked into this museum to be greeted by a staggering sight, an array of 20 quilts unlike any I had ever seen. Their unbridled colors, irregular shapes, and nearly reckless range of textiles telegraphed a tremendous energy, for example, and the implacable ambition and confidence of great art. Okay, speaking of art, look at this. I mean, look, we're going to look at turkey red. For all the traditional quilters out there, the people who really love, the old school patchwork and stuff, that's where we're going next, right? The content of the show ranges. That's what I love. It has to be over here and then over here. So, we don't stick to one thing over here, okay? Just so you know. But it's a nice segue, I think, from Olson and Villay. Anyway, Roberta says they were crafted objects that transcended quilting. Okay, why does it have to do that? But that's fine, Smith. Transcended quilting with the power of painting. This made them cannon-busting and implicitly subversive. They gave off a tangible heat. I left in a state of shock. I knew I had been instantly converted, but I didn't yet know to what. God, it's a really well-written article. But anyway, so this is Rosie Lee Tompkins. So I'm looking around for whatnot. And, oh, wow, Padma saw the Rosie Lee Tompkins quilt show at the Berkeley Art Museum. No one can dispute that her quilts were art. Padma, I'm jelly. I wish I could have seen it. And because there's so many quilts and because she's luminary artist at this point, there will be other exhibits, right? I wonder, does Fabric of a Nation have one of hers? We don't know. I mean, I don't know. Some of you might. Anyway, so this picture, okay, is the one that was with the New York Times article, okay? So I've seen this before. I've seen it, when you search for Rosie Lee Tompkins, you see it. This other picture was in the New York Times article. This was taken by Eli Leon, the guy who collected her quilts, sort of helped her get a wider audience, and he's a very interesting guy. And, oh no, Blobfish, you tell those work meetings. You're busy with Quilt Nerd. But then I found this picture of Rosie Lee Tompkins. That's Rosie Lee Tompkins. That is Rosie Lee Tompkins in another time. And I was like, well, oh my God, we see this picture and this picture a lot, and that's great. That's fine. But I don't think that this one was in the New York Times article. Let me just check. No, it wasn't. And that's unfortunate because it's amazing. I mean, this article is so long and has so many images, but not this one. Why? I don't know. I mean, we could speculate on, the story they're telling and the story they want to tell, but wow, just gorgeous. So I wanted to share it. I mean, that's what I'm talking about with why this show needs to be. Because what am I going to do with this picture of Rosie Lee Tompkins? I mean, I know I can post it to social media, but that's not enough. It's not enough, damn it, because social media is too temporary, and I just want it to be more. It's a glamour shot. It's totally a glamour shot. Did you all ever get Glamour Shots? Was that your time? I never did because we couldn't afford them, and I think I knew deep down that they were kind of weird. But you remember you could get them at the mall, and they would tart you up and tease your hair up, and you'd be like, Glamour Shot. I don't know. It always looked really fun, but wasn't going to happen. Not for this nerd. So I was thinking about photos, right? I'm thinking about photos when I saw that picture of Rosie Lee. Judy, she does look fabulous. Exactly. I'm thinking about photos, and I have a whole lot of photos from a friend of mine, right, who collects vintage photos of people with quilts in them, okay? So this is one I have. And Hannah just asked me, do I collect any of the quilts that I feature? I have a very small quilt collection that's very strange. I'll tell you more about it at some point. But no, I don't have any quilts that I feature. I wish, a Rosie Lee Tompkins or something. That'd be pretty nice. But no. I'll talk about my collection though at some point. So, and by collection, I mean I have like 5, but I love them. Okay. So my friend has a zillion of these photographs, and I was lucky enough to go and visit him a couple summers ago, 3 summers ago, and scan these, and so they're all digitized and whatever. But I have a few photos of my own that I've come across in my time, and vintage photos, and I just love them. And they're, you can find them, online sometimes, but, if you go to like a flea market or an antique mall or something like that, a lot of the stalls have tons of buckets of vintage photographs. And a couple times in my life, I've spent, time going through like huge drawers of these photographs looking for a quilt, So if you're really dedicated, that's what you really have to do. But just over the years, I've gotten just a couple, and I love this. And I've said before too that Renee has Glamour Shots. Those awful photos, she says, of me 10 going on 40. Exactly. That says everything about Glamour Shots. So talking about quilts and art, I mean, my theory is that if quilts weren't art, even quilts like this, right? Even hexagon quilts, someone sewing hexies, right? Even quilts like this are art, because so many family photographs taken back in the day, they had quilts hanging behind them. So like that was what they chose to have in their family photograph, because it's beautiful and like art, and it was hung up on the wall. Quilts weren't seen as art. I mean, women, we say that now, we're analyzing things, looking at quilts, critically, but, women who were making quilts in, 1880 weren't like, I am making a work of art. Some of them knew they were. You look at like a quilt like Crazy City or certain quilts, of course, obviously the woman was like, I did not come to play with this quilt, but for the most part, people wouldn't say I'm making a work of art. Anyway, and yet, when it comes time to take a very important photograph, because in the early days of photography, a photographer would go town to town and take pictures of people, for their families and whatnot. So, it's an important thing to have a picture. And this girl, I mean, there's a lot of pictures of like a young woman with a quilt standing fetchingly in the yard or something. And I don't know about the history of photography in this way, or the history. Look at her saddle shoes. Oh, God, they're so great. Oh, they're so great. And bobby socks. I don't know the year on this. I can't date photographs very well. But were they, you know what I mean when I say, were they sort of like, not advertisements, but I mean, was it for her sweetheart or for her future sweetheart, these portraits? So many of them have quilts, and it's like, we don't know if she made this quilt, or if it's a family quilt, or if it's just a fabulous prop, I don't know. There is an article in Uncoverings in the American Quilt Study Group Journal that talks about quilts and photographs. I'd love just to read that thing. I forget who wrote it. Maybe Nancy Bevore. She writes everything. She's great. So I was thinking about Rosie Lee, and so I got a few of the photographs I have and scanned them in so we could look at them. Look at those little nuggets, those little peanuts. Oh, it's so great. Aren't they great? They're just great. And that little quilt down there, it's tied, Today, it's probably so beat up, somebody cut it up and made it into a jumpsuit. Isn't that great? It's so great. So nice. Even though it could still be used as a picnic blanket, that's fine. But these two little girls are they're just the sweetest. And if anybody has a thought about, the years on these and things, I don't know. But I love that one. This is great. I mean, this picture, is she maybe, it looks like a garage because you've got Christmas tree up here on a rack kind of thing. I mean, if it was Christmas, it might be in a different spot. And then this is sort of like, it looks like a storage situation. There's other quilts here, stacked here. A Miller High Life box, which is everything. And she's got her quilt on a frame. And she's working on it. She's hand quilting a quilt on the frame. I think this is an awesome picture. And it's obviously, it's not a portrait, right? Either this is like a B-side, like an outtake, because she's looking away. I mean, it's not formally, right? It's not a photograph that, no one said, hey, mom, or, hey, grandma, hey, auntie, turn away from the camera now so I can take your picture. I mean, it's almost like a kind of a candid thing. And so someone thought to take a picture of this woman. And there were probably a number of these, and this is the one that just that sifted to my life. But July 1970 is when this was taken. And so yeah. Anyway, I just think it's great. I think it's great. Hand quilting on a frame, possibly in the garage. I love it. This little guy, what is he doing? He's pointing to his elephant. Is it his favorite animal in the quilt? I don't know. Hey, Marianne, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, well, yeah, okay, wait, I gotta see what's going on in the chat. You people are ridiculous. Yeah, okay. Oh, you're talking about the, oh yeah, Marianne, I just saw you. I'm getting behind here. People still do glamour shots, Padma, I'm sure. Oh Lord, now with social media, I'm sure that it makes more sense than ever that people would do like glamour shots, right? Except now there's so many like makeup tutorials and things on YouTube and like hair videos and stuff. You could, anyway, what a mess. So early 90s, yeah, Kelly's like, Kristen, glamour shots before your time. Probably started in the early 90s in the US. Yeah. Oh, listen, a Google image search for glamour shots shopping mall, we'd find it. Doing glamour shots of quilts. That's a business idea. I don't know how you would formulate it, but you could do that. Quilts behind you, feathered bangs. Could happen. 80s quilt. Okay, look, here we go. Marianne's got it. 1980s quilts with 1980s fashion and hair, and you do a glamour shot like that. 1970s quilts, you do that. I mean, glamour shots, quilt glamour shots. And you style yourself the way you would have looked if you made that quilt, okay? 1885 could be amazing. We come up with a lot of very good ideas on this show, and it's all collaborative. Okay. Yeah, I think the girl standing with her quilt, the young woman, is probably, yeah, it's not like boudoir, right? It's yeah, it seems pretty wholesome. Kristen has a quilt question. She's 2 years into her addiction. Lol. And you would say you're a confident beginner. I love that distinction, confident beginner. I read somewhere using the backing as binding is frowned upon. Ha! Okay. Hold my soda. I don't know if this was true or the article was written by the quilt police. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Quilt police alert. You can totally fold the backing over the edges of your quilt to make the binding. And anybody who says that you can't, or that's just like, not good, is being a snob. Now, okay, they might say that, hold on, I gotta get. They might say that because they're concerned about, the longevity of your quilt, or I'm sure people in the chat have also attacked this. Yeah, okay, so Marianne points out exactly, God, I gotta pull my foot up here so I can sit like this. Okay, bear in mind, binding can be replaced, but if you bring the back to the front, you may have issues later. Totally, right? That's a great point. Binding can be replaced. Quilts can be repaired in lots of ways, though, right? But a quilter who says that, if Marianne said that to you, she would be like thinking about, longevity of your quilt, and she has a very good point. But, we just it's the thing, I say it all the time, but like we got into this era of like perfection or these rules. They were just like these rules that you have to do binding and you have to do French fold binding so you get these nice points. And, I blame my mother. But it's just sort of happened that you had these wonderful quilters and they got a lot of, they were in the media. Mom and Liz and Eleanor and, all these amazing quilters were on TV at a certain point and they were doing magazines and tutorials. And of course they had to do the best quilts that they could do. They're teaching people. And so it's like best practices, and Jenny Beyer is ambidextrous, and, they were all so great. But because of that, I guess it was media saturation or something like that. And then of course, capitalism comes on in and is like, buy this tool that'll help you make the perfect binding. And so everybody just started doing it that way. And I mean, the idea that you would tie a quilt, like, I think in the Quilter's Complete Guide, there's a small section of how to tie a quilt. But like, I was on that show. If I had tied a quilt, the idea that it would have been featured on Love of Quilting television, no. I mean, it's like slumming it or something to tie a quilt, or to bring the backing over the top for your binding, or to use a bed sheet as your backing fabric. Oh no. How dare a person do that? How dare a person take a very big, perfectly sized piece of fabric that they own, that they don't use anymore, and use it as the back of their quilt? It's like, this is totally okay. There's no rules. No one knows anything. No one knows anything, and they don't know what they're doing, and everybody's a disaster. Remember that, and just go for it. And I mean it. I mean, everybody's just saying things, but nobody knows anything. Do what you like. Don't worry about the quilt police. Your quilts are none of their concern. Kelly, I love how you said that. Indeed. Yes. Dee Marie, the great thing about quilting is you can do whatever you want. I knew all of it. I don't even need to say anything that I said because everyone took care of it. Everyone took care of it. By the way, Robin has a cousin that does makeup and hair for Glamour Shots. Is that still, Robin, I'm sorry, I have to go back. Are they still available to get at the local mall? I would like to know when it's open, right? Kristen's like, thank you for answering my question. And yes, a lot of people answered in the chat, so I should probably move on. Okay. I blame my mother, indeed. Okay. So everybody's taking care of that. So I'm gonna go back to what all this is. Okay. So this guy, probably a red work quilt behind him with the embroidery. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this one, isn't this great? I mean, it's a little creepy because the woman, in the sort of on the right side, or on my right side. Oh, yeah, her looks a bit, haunting or haunted. But they're in this hammock, this woven hammock. There are these 4 girls. Who are they? Are they sisters? Are they friends? Where are they? We don't know. But this girl over here, this young lady, has a crazy quilt wrapped around her. But it's a crazy quilt that is large. Oh, no, sorry. What am I saying? It's log cabin. No, it's log cabin. It's a large quilt. It's log cabin. I saw the zigzag stitching and my brain just went somewhere else. So she's got this log cabin quilt. It looks very thin. I don't know. And then this one here, I mean, hexies, but there's a design to it. There's another layout to it. So, I mean, this quilt, this picture has a story, Robin says they're more private sessions for the Glamour Shots. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Okay. Hey, Myra. Indeed, yes. So there is, interesting. Flange. Oh, a flange. Okay. So that's a picture. That's one of mine. I've got a couple, though. There's not too many. I didn't scan too many of these. And we're going to talk about turkey red. I keep threatening turkey red, but we'll get there. I think this is the same group of kids. Well, plus one. But this is I showed you the other one earlier. These two. Yeah. Wait, is it? I think so. Yeah. That's the same little hairdo on the girl. That's their Glamour Shot. Anyway. This one, well, I don't know. These pictures with quilts in them are so powerful and they're so great. And when I talk about, quilts being, the story of quilts is the story of our nation. It's the story of our country. And, this dye, this turkey red dye, it's an amazing story because you can really date a quilt by looking at, the different fabrics that were used. And turkey red is this very specific color fast dye. And so quilts that had red in them before turkey red was widely available, they often fade. And so you can say, oh, that quilt was made before this particular time, probably because. So, this patchwork quilt, it's a beach blanket, these cool chicks, right, hanging out at the beach. I love it. And it's just a slice of history. And I don't know who those people are. We'll never know. But you see quilts in everyday life. Quilts, in fact, they have been called everyday quilts, the quilts that are used in people's lives. And they're just everywhere. And they tell a story. And quilts are made in England. We get all our patchwork traditions, most of them, from England, But there's the American quilt is its own thing, and it is truly an art form that I think is an American art form. The way we do quilts is an American art form. Okay, and this one I cut this off. I've got the full picture of this. I guess my scan just wasn't good, and I didn't have time to rescan it. But is this cool, or is this cool? I mean, wow, she's so groovy. Look at this artist. And she's got there's a basket quilt below. I swear this one, I feel like there's another one there, up here. But there's definitely the basket quilt below. I mean, she's perched on this cot of quilts in her hat with her umbrella. And she's inside, right? Isn't that the ceiling and the wall? I don't know. Oh, is she on a bunk bed? Maybe she's on a bunk bed. Very interesting. Oh no. Rusty Cat says she's loving the chat, but she can't hear a thing over the noise of 3 boys in the bathtub, so she's going to rejoin later and catch up on YouTube. Nerd on, Rusty Cat. I'm glad you came. I applaud you for even trying to listen to something with that going on in the background, but I'm glad you came. We all are. Yep. I'm pasty as well, Marianne. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't mean to call you pasty. I am pasty and I burn at the beach too, so quilts have to come with me. Okay, and so then just a couple more. This is actually a photo. It's one of my favorite photos I've ever seen. This belongs to the Library of Congress. I use it all the time in various applications because it's just great. They're just I want to show my quilt. Can you come outside, whoever took the picture, and take a picture of my quilt or our quilt, and it's so simple. If you are a beginner quilter, you can totally make this. If you can sew a 1/4 inch seam, get somebody to help you sew a 1/4 inch seam, or just wing it. But if you have somebody to help you, you'll enjoy making a quilt more because you won't have to keep fixing things that don't work, and you won't have to try to figure out what went wrong. I feel like that with Twitch. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm fumbling along. And if I just had a teacher with me, it would be a lot better. But I don't have it. It's okay. But sew a 1/4 inch seam, and you can do it by hand. If you do it by hand, things are a little, you can kind of fudge it by hand. Anyway, the point is, they're proud of their quilt. This is a very simple quilt to put together, and you can do it. You can do it. Is it hand quilted? Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Okay. The fan thing. Okay. This is one of my friend Jonathan's pictures. It's just so great. It's so great. And I just realized, looking at it up close, there are 3 purses on the quilt, right? There's this black one, and then there's Baptist fan, Kelly. That's what it is. Thudding noise. Is there a thudding noise? Interesting. I don't think so. But if something got bumped, it might. Anyway. Okay. I'll watch for it. Nosta quilts. And then there's this sort of billfold looking thing, but then there's this other purse, and I wonder if she's so happy because he bought her 3 purses. Actually, you know what? I think there may be a thumping that is my fault. I think it'll stop now. It's possible. I know what happened. So, and he's wearing stockings and fashionable pants. He's pretty cute, and she's gorgeous. So, like, what's going on here? I don't know, but I know that they have a quilt beneath them to protect their cool clothes that they're wearing. 1940s or 50, I don't know. But that picture is everything. I love these pictures too. I've got just a few more. This is so sweet. Look, this says April 1964. Look at that little munchkin. She's like, I mean, is she taking a stitch? Maybe, if she's tying or something. But she, I mean, so cute, her little dress. And she's standing on something so she can even reach it. Oh, look at that thimble in the foreground. You see it? So good. Really cute. Scrap quilt, string quilt. Looks like a string quilt to me. And maybe, I mean, is that maybe a child's room? The little moon and star thing looks like it could be. So maybe that's her quilt that she's going to get or something like that. You don't know. Yeah, I really think that it was my fault. I'm pretty sure that thudding will go away. Okay, and then this one. This is great. I don't know. I just think of how important it is to take pictures, I guess. Just pictures of daily life instead of those, glamour shots. And those, posed things and those duck face pictures. I mean, just pictures of life, In fact, I did that when we left London last year. I just took pictures of the place that we lived in. Just pictures of the rooms. Because one day, I know that I'll be like, oh my God, remember that? Instead of pictures of me and Eric together or something, just pictures of the house inside, where we lived, So this is kind of one of those pictures. I've got just two more. This one. This is what I mean about quilts hanging behind people when they had family portraits taken. And I don't know if they could afford to have more than one shot, but if they couldn't, she was in big trouble. Not happy. But I mean, she's just mid-sentence. It's not that she's not happy, but I'm saying her parents might have been a little bit frustrated. And they might have been frustrated that the photographer did not center the photo exactly the way he might have. I mean, this is, I don't know, photography, like 1870, I think is when, like, cameras, I need to make sure. But it's around that time that, like, photography was becoming something that, was known to people, and the people who would go around and take photos. I mean, it was before the 1900s, I think, so this is like 1800, maybe later. I don't know. But it's pretty interesting. The kids. And then the last picture I kind of saved. Oh, wait, no, we didn't look at the quilt. Hold on. Don't read ahead. This quilt is scrappy. The block, I mean, it's sort of like, I mean, when I look at this one's kind of like broken dishes, but there's half square triangles on the edges and then patches in the sashing. It's sashed. It's great. And, what is that binding? Looks like the backing pulled over the edge. I don't know, probably. Yeah, for sure. Look down here. I think that's backing folded over. But yeah, you just do whatever you want. Raffle Waffle says, it's impossible to get a good picture of more than one kid at a time. I can appreciate that. I think that probably makes a lot of sense to a lot of the people who are tuned in right now. Okay, I love his little bow. Anyway, okay, and then this one, I love it. And these pictures aren't mine. These last since that one of the women with the yellow quilt, the ones that I'm showing you now don't belong to me. But yeah, I think it's okay to show them for a few moments in time. Just girlfriends or sisters hanging out. But, look at the white tents. What is that about? Oh, maybe, is it like a campsite or something? And then there's this group of people over here. I don't know. I mean, it might be like a campsite or some sort of summer camp or something. I mean, they look like tents, maybe that would be like medical tents or something, but I don't think that they would be lounging like that. This one is fabulous, Myra. I just love it. I love it so much. And someone thought to take a picture of it, and they've got a quilt on top of them. So it must not be that hot. It's sunny, but it can't be that hot, right? Because they're really camping. Yeah, it's camping. It's totally camping. So, okay. So that is that. We've done Olsen and Boulay, Rosie Lee Tompkins, other quilt photos. Okay. So now let's talk about Turkey Red. It's funny because I was like, I'll do Turkey Red later, but people are really interested in Turkey Red. Okay. So I mentioned wanting to do this because I'm here at home and I have to do this. I'm here at home and I have all my books here. And there's more books down in the storage unit that I'm going to go get. What is it, Thursday? Definitely by the weekend I'm going to do that project. But I have so many wonderful books, and in London I don't have access to them. So while I'm here in Chicago for the next month and a half or so, we're going to dive into these books. You know, we're really going to get into them. And this is the one that I showed a couple times now, Clues in the Calico, A Guide to Identifying and Dating Antique Quilts by Barbara Brackman. Barbara Brackman, La Brackman, just... We owe a lot to Barbara Brackman. She's a scholar and a quilt maker, quilt designer. I mean, she really does it all, but she's so funny and like dry. Her wit is like Sahara dry. She's so great, funny and great. And she knows so much, and she's written a million books, it seems, and the books are just, I mean, she's a scholar, and her contributions to the world that we love, immeasurable, you know. And so this book is a total disaster. It's completely fallen apart. But here's what, oh my God, I didn't see it. Talk about Glamour Shots, Barbara. I don't know how to, sometimes I see people do this on YouTube. I don't know. I didn't look at the back. I should have scanned in that picture of Barbara. Okay, so it says the Brackman Bible for Dating Quilts. Just read a little bit of the back. Oh, $40. It was $40. When was it published? Let's take a look. That seems like a lot, but I mean, it's not bad. It just seems like an expensive book. Okay. 1989. Let me do something here to the quilt so that I can I move it? No, that's me. Hold on. Well, yeah, I want the chat to be able to be seen, but I also don't want to mess anything up. So we're just gonna do this. Wait a minute. Ooh. I really like the chat on screen, and I've said before, you know, if you're new here, I don't do it during the main show because I don't want to cover up all the stuff we're looking at. The gamers do it. They have chat going on screen, and parts of the screen are covered up so that people can see the chat, but it doesn't make sense for this show. It just doesn't make sense, you know? That's why you got to watch it live, because on the replay, I don't think you get to see the chat. Okay, anyway. So this is what it says. In Clues in the Calico, Barbara Brackman unveils a much-needed system for dating Americans' heirloom quilts. She tells how, by collecting and observing quilts and finally analyzing her computer file on close to 900 date-inscribed specimens, she arrived at the system. And through this telling, she also imparts a colorful, stunningly illustrated history of quilt making, along with a good bit of entertaining social history and the newest findings in textile research. I'm gonna read the back of this. There's no time limit to this show. I said it might be kind of long. Brackman begins by reminding quilters that all too few of their predecessors had the foresight, self-esteem, in parentheses, self-esteem, to sign and date their quilts. Had more inscribing occurred, of course, Brackman and friends would have been deprived of much fun. This is great. Did she write this? It's possible. Confessing to a youthful addiction to the fictional exploits of girl detective Nancy Drew, the author, Barbara Brackman, can't help perceiving any undated quilt as an unsolved mystery. Ugh, love it. So she hands her reader a spyglass, and off they go, sleuthing up one track and down another, discovering which clues are weak and which are reliable and why. The caption under the first of more than 50 color photos that enrich this book reveals her authoritative yet conversational tone. Exactly. The Feathered Star quilt, made in Frederick, Maryland, signed but not dated, was made between 1825 and 1850, she asserts, adding that it has a story to, quote, quicken the pulse of any collector, unquote. It was found abandoned, never washed, in a storage shed far away from Maryland, behind a house in Iowa. Wow. This abandoned quilt has a story that would quicken the pulse of any collector. But a lot of people, they say because a quilt is abandoned, they're saving it by cutting it up and making it into a hat. Stop doing that. How does Detective Brackman arrive at a time bracket for such a quilt? Primarily by a discriminating study of its fabric, style, color, technique, and pattern. These are the most important characteristics that determine dates. The fabric, style, color, technique, and pattern. She examines each in separate chapters and includes yet 8 more that can offer clues. All clues, this is a very long back of the book, but I love it. All clues are listed on a copyrighted worksheet entitled Building a Case. Wow, I didn't look at that yet. And readers are invited to photocopy and use it. 4 samples get you started practicing and help fulfill the author's main purpose. After you've read the book, the next step, she beckons, is to begin reading the clues. Clues. You will. Okay, love it. It's great. This is on archive.org. That's awesome. Archive.org is the best thing that's ever happened to a quilt nerd, really. Archive.org, it's the Internet Archive, so you got to click on the books icon. You got to kind of get used to the site. You want to search text, not metadata. Anyway, poke around, but there's a ton of books that have been scanned in that you can read online and full color. I mean, it's like the scan, they're scanned pages. They're not like archive.org. Yeah. So this book is in archive.org. So search for it, read it. Or purchase it on eBay, used, or Abe Books, or at your favorite used bookstore. Ask them to get it for you. And you will help make the case that eBay... Hey, thank you for Lainey Lou gifting a subscription to Elaine. That's really cool. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. eBay/AbeBooks/ usedbooks.com need to sponsor this show because a lot of us see stuff on this show and then go buy the book. Okay. So there's a part in this book that goes color by color. So I copied this off so I could easily, handle it. But there's this portion of clues in red fabrics, clues in blue fabrics, clues in green fabrics. So she goes color by color, and that's really cool. Let's see. Hold on. Amy Edmonds with the picture of the girls. Why are these people sleeping in the road? I think it was a campsite. I'm pretty sure. I think that's the consensus. So I'm going to read to you from Clues in Red Fabric while I show you a few quilts with red in them that I put together, because maybe we can figure it out, like sort of what date these might be. Maybe not. I don't know. These are kind of randomized, but maybe we'll learn something and we will be able to do it. Okay. Hey, Natalie. So glad you're here. It's great. So this is Barbara Brackman. There are several shades of red and pink cottons that are among the easiest colors to learn to spot. Turkey red, cinnamon red orange, wine, and a bright pink. Oh, I gotta get small. Sorry. Help, I'm small. And a bright pink are all recognizable to novice detectives and were popular enough at times to be useful. Hold on. This is very stained, but it's still important to keep intact. Okay. Turkey red is unusual because the name for the color has passed down to us with the quilts. Since it is so color fast, many of the old quilts are still the same shade of red they were when their makers demanded turkey red. The name comes not from the bird. I didn't know that until, I don't know. Okay. It's, the name comes not from the bird, but from the old European idea that any Eastern Mediterranean country was part of Turkey. Dye masters in that area knew how to dye cotton a fast red in a process that was unknown to Europeans until the mid-18th century. And for a color to be fast, it means that it won't fade or run. significantly, right? A color fast fabric. People know that term, but it's strange to sort of use it in a different way, which Barbara does, Anyway. So a fast red. They were able to make a fast red, a color fast red. The dye stuff was madder root. Madder root. Sorry we have those weird little blips in the YouTube land. I gotta get mods. If you want to be a mod for YouTube or Twitch, I gotta do it. In fact, even saying that I don't have mods is like probably a really bad idea to even say it, because then, people can, bomb things and like, I hate it, but I if you want to help me, I think it could be fun. You can do lots of fun stuff, like ban people who are saying rude things, or welcome people. If I don't see them come into the chat, you can welcome them, and it would be really great. So if you can do it, I'm sorry, but I have to pause and say this because it's something that I honestly have lost sleep over, because we're vulnerable. The show is vulnerable without some moderators, right? And so if you're interested, if you'd be willing to do it, you don't have to do it every show. I would get like, I don't know, 10 people who if you're at the show, you can mod. You don't have to show up every show, and you don't have to stay the whole time, whatever. But I need some help. And I asked a couple people who like graciously said I can't do it right now, which is totally fine. But I still need them. So email me. Here's the deal. Email me at twitch@maryfons.com. twitch@maryfons.com, and be like, I will totally mod for you. Okay. Or I'll learn, and then we'll do a Zoom call all together and learn how to do it. I don't know how to do it, but we'll learn together. Okay. Sorry, that was like a public service announcement, really important. Hey, JSOC is her first time chatting. I'm so glad you joined us. And JSOC says, I've dyed with madder root, and the range of colors it produces is amazing. That's so cool, because when I think of madder root, I think of a brown, but now we're learning something else. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled program. You got rid of some spammers in YouTube the other day. Thank you, Word and Bird Nerd. Thank you. Okay, so let's take a look at another quilt just for visual things, and then maybe we can go back and look and see what's going on here. Okay. The dye stuff that these people in Turkey were using was madder root. Europeans were familiar with madder, but only the Eastern dyers knew how to get a fast, vibrant red from it. And madder is M-A-D-D-E-R, madder root. Okay. The process took 13 to 20 steps and many months. One step involved boiling the yardage in an oil mordant, explaining why the much desired shade was sometimes called oil-boiled calico. Oil-boiled calico. Robin, thank you. Word and Bird Nerd, thank you. Send me an email so I can have everybody contactable that way. Thank you. In the 1750s, the secret of turkey red dyeing was leaked to the European continent, where French and English mills began producing turkey red, plain, and print cottons. French and English mills, interesting. Because the process was so complex, true turkey red dyeing using natural materials was never carried out on a commercial level in the United States. In 1868, the synthesis of alizarin, it's A-L-I-Z-A-R-I-N, alizarin, the coloring agent in madder, simplified the turkey red process somewhat, and American mills began producing the cotton. Turkey red dyeing with natural materials, or the alizarin process, was so complex that mills specialized in that type of cotton, sometimes selling the plain red yardage to other mills that created prints by over-dyeing a dark figure or by applying other colors after using chemicals to discharge areas of the red dye. Wow! So in some cases you would have red fabric, turkey red dyed fabric, and any white on it was a relief, but like it was discharging areas. Wait, by applying other colors after using chemicals. Yeah, so they would like dye it back to white, and then, oh, that's so interesting. That's so cool. Okay. Casual observation. Okay, now let me go to this. okay, so here's some fabric. And I grabbed this off the internet. So I don't know. I don't know how we would date this, if we could date it to a certain time. But that's that pink cinnamon color that she was talking about. And then that red. And it looks color fast anyway. Okay. Casual observation cannot distinguish turkey red from later fast red dyes. But the appearance of a red that has retained its brightness is a clue that the quilt was made after turkey red fabrics became commonplace in the 1830s and 40s. Alizarin, write down. Thank you, alizarin. One clue to turkey red cotton is a characteristic pattern of wear. This is really interesting. I read this a little bit ahead the other day. Because the dyeing process is so hard on cotton fiber, turkey red prints and plains often do not wear as well as the other fabrics in a quilt. Okay, and this is the quilt we looked at it the other day from the Skinner auction site. This was, I wanted to do turkey red because I was like, what's up with turkey red? And I saw this particular quilt with, hold on, no. Wait a minute, this is out of order. No. Okay, with this particular wear on it. It's here, okay? You can see it pretty well. Because the dyeing is so hard on cotton fiber, turkey prints and plains wear differently, okay? The fabric seems to wear thin from abrasion on the surface, becoming lighter in the high relief areas of the quilt. So it's not that it fades, it becomes thinner. Like it's a thinner thing. Hang on, let me go over here, just a second here. Hang on. There's another picture of this that I really want to show you. It's worth grabbing. Hang on. Yep, right here. Great. Here it is. Oh, is this it? Sorry, guys. No, that's not it. Okay, that's fine. Okay. The color remains dark and the fabric stays intact in the low places near the quilting and seams. Because the dye colors the outside of the yarn, the interior undyed shaft of the yarn begins to show with wear. This is real nerdy stuff. Quilt church, okay? As turkey red wears, it becomes streaked with white rather than, here, okay. You can see it's getting a little bit lighter, right? Like around the edges, it's darker, but then at the tops of the, where the quilting's been done, the higher relief parts are gonna get slightly lighter or just sort of thinner and therefore lighter. Okay. As turkey red wears, it becomes streaked with white rather than fading to a uniform pink or brown. Okay. You totally need this book. Everybody needs this book. It's so good. Turkey red in plains and prints became a staple in clothing and quilts during the second quarter of the 19th century and lasted until the end. The plain red is not a particularly useful clue if one wants to narrow the date of a quilt to something beyond 19th or early 20th century. But, this one is interesting, but bright red prints are more helpful. Bright red. The first turkey red calicos with tiny cones, flowers, and geometrics appeared at the beginning of the 19th century, when they occasionally were used in scrap quilts. It wasn't until about 1840. This is not from the book. This is a quilt that I found, the other day, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a good thing to look at for this turkey red. It wasn't until about 1840 they became the characteristic fabric for quilts, especially applique quilts. We just saw one. Turkey red calicos from the mid-19th century are printed with black, yellow, and blue and green figures, some of which have rotted away due to tendering from the dyes and from the chemicals used in the discharge process. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Wait, we have someone bad in the thing? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're very funny. Oh, yeah, I know. Hang on. You know what, Gato? You can totally stay. It's a cute joke. You can totally stay, but you have to be nice, okay? Because we're really nerdy and we really love this stuff. So you can stay. Just chill. You know, don't be weird. Okay. Okay. There's a second distinctive red print found in quilts from about 1875 through 1925. Okay, 1875 through 1925, when American mills produced an inexpensive black. Wait a minute. Inexpensive black. I wonder if this is it, you know? On a red ground. Common subject matter in small-scale prints were sporty objects like horseshoes, anchors, and tennis rackets. In larger-scale prints, paisleys and cones and florals were typical. You know, because I can't see any of you, I mean, I can't read the room. So, I mean, I hope you're into this. I think you are. There's not been some mass exodus, you know? Yay. Okay, gato. Gato, maybe it's I think gato in Spanish is just one T though. So maybe you're not a cat. Anyway. So look at the paisley. So that's interesting. Both Montgomery Ward and Sears sold large-scale red and black prints that they call robe prints, R-O-B-E. Interesting. The catalogs frequently mentioned their suitability for quilts and comforters. Sears also referred to its red and black prints, small and large scale, as Garibaldi cloth. Oh, it's so nerdy, I'm almost like, oh boy. A probable reference to the Italian hero whose followers wore red shirts. Garibaldi prints, robe prints, or black on red prints are strong clues to the 1875 to 1925 era, when both the large-scale and small-scale versions were popular for quilt backing, sashing, for whole cloth, tied comforters, and for patches in scrap quilts. Okay, yes, I mean, this is what I mean. Brackman, there's nobody like her. Okay, what have I got? Okay, here's another. Yeah, okay, this is the picture I wanted. I looked right at it and I didn't see it. Look at how, is this turkey red? Right, because look how it's wearing. You see how it got thinner? It got thinner. Okay, good. Robin, you love it. Great. It's like lighter on the top. You see what she's saying? And what this is turkey red, right? In this E pluribus unum quilt. It's got to be. Debbie says this is like Quilt Sunday School, discussing the details. I like that. Yeah, it's true. It really is Quilt Sunday School. I like that. You've heard of Garibaldi red, Rhonda? I don't know if I said hi to you. Hi, Rhonda. Okay. Okay, so we have a little bit more. Turkey red remained popular after synthetic dyes became the norm toward the end of the century. Interesting. People still wanted the real thing. Authentic turkey red cotton still required an old-fashioned multi-stage dyeing process, somewhat simplified by this time. And so were often priced considerably higher than other fabrics sold for clothing and quilts. From the 1875-76 Montgomery Ward catalog, quilt makers could order red prints for 9.5 cents per yard, or turkey red for 27.5 cents per yard. So the cheap stuff was 9.5 cents. The fancy stuff was 27.5 cents. That's huge. What a huge difference. You can get what Marianne says. I think I can get this on eBay from the U.S. for about $60. Get some turkey red. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Tell us what, or put the link. Too much. It's too much. No, I don't know. Anyway, okay. So I've missed a little bit, but let's go back to this. So that's a lot more. That's a lot more. The reliability of the true turkey red fabric was apparently worth nearly 3 times the price. The difference in price between red and true turkey red fabric fluctuated over the following 30 or 40 years, but turkey red was always at a premium. So what about this quilt? Right? This Calamanco situation. Do I have a year on it? Okay, yeah. Because turkey red fabrics cost more and had a better reputation. Okay, this is important because, yeah. The name was sometimes used to misrepresent synthetic red dyes. Housewives could buy packaged dyes labeled turkey red, but authentic turkey red is a process rather than a dye stuff. That's the thing. That's the big lesson, is like turkey red is not a shade, really. We call it that, but it's the process. Turkey red dye process. That's a nerdy thing you can share with your friends. Regardless of what the packet said, it contained a less reliable dye, such as Congo red, which produced a bright red that soon faded to brown or pink. The misrepresentation of fugitive dyes, those are dyes that disappear, may explain why surviving quilts from the era have reds ranging from pink to brown to white. We've all seen these things, right? A faded red dress might be quickly and inexpensively re-dyed with another package of Congo red, but a faded red and white tinge makes it easy to differentiate from turkey red, which has a bluish cast. I would say this has a bluish cast. Both reds were originally dyed with the root of the madder plant as a coloring agent. So, technically, both are forms of madder red, but common parlance classifies madder red as various shades of red, ranging from red-brown through cinnamon orange and turkey red as a bright, slightly bluish red. Oh, hey, Fraz Noel. Fraz Noel it's her first time chat. Everybody welcome Fraz Noel and our other first time chatter. Oh, Gato. Gato was our other first time chatter with his brilliant joke. I just feel like it's a guy. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it's just great. It's just great. Even novices of quilt dating should have, Brackman says, a little problem distinguishing between the cinnamon madder red with an orange cast and a brighter synthetic red with an orange cast that is typical of the mid to late 20th century. The more recent reds tend to be a tomato color rather than the rusty reds of madder red or cherry red of turkey red. In summary, the significant variations in the shades of true red are the bluish red that is likely to be turkey red. Oh yeah, this is totally a bluish red. Is this not a bluish red? Okay, oh good, Noelle. Okay, you were over in YouTube before, but that's good. This is totally bluish red if I've ever seen it, right? It's not orange red. That's bluish red. I think we've dated a quilt. I mean, I think so, right? We've like identified a turkey red without a doubt. Without a doubt we have. So in summary, the significant variations in the shades of true red are the bluish red that is likely turkey red, the cinnamon or rusty red that is likely to be madder red, and the bright tomato red with an orange cast that is a 20th century synthetic dye and a good indicator of a post-1925 date. Huh. Turkey red. As promised. So interesting. So interesting. I knew Eric was the guy for me because I say interesting. And so does he. It's very weird. I'm like, that's very interesting. And he is also a person who says interesting. So yeah, that's some turkey red knowledge. I just think it's so interesting that it's not a color. But it's fair to say, you know, like if someone says turkey red, like, you know, you don't have to be like, you know, that's actually not right, you know. But it is interesting to know that it was the process, and how cool that it was this really extensive process, like 20 steps. And for the folks who have done their, hey, Niflinster, you got to go to class. You mean you got to go to your other class, your next class. I'm so glad you came today. Thank you. It's just so interesting that they end boiling it in oil and stuff. And those people who have done fabric dyeing, someone said it earlier, forgive me for not remembering who, but you know about dyeing fabric with madder root and how you get all these different colors. And I wonder who's doing, I mean, to get a really true red like this, do you have to do that? I mean, do you pretty much have to do that even today, like oil and stuff? I don't know. I think a hand dyeing class would be really fun. My mom always said she does not like wet processes. She doesn't like a wet process. But now she's taking a watercolor class. Anyway, so that is that. And I think the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the summary. So the other day, because I think it looks pretty good. So the other day we talked about Dr. Jean Throck Morton. And I don't want that stain right by my head. Let me do something different. And she was so amazing, right? This doctor who had her hearing, she lost her hearing in time, and she lived with a woman after her husband died, and they lived and made quilts together for 40 years or something like that. And let's do this. And it was and someone said, there ought to be a biography on this person. I'd like to know more about this woman's life, And I agreed, and Jill's there ought to be a biography on, lots of people or something like that. And so the idea of a quilt, an idea of a book about quilt makers, remarkable quilt makers in history, in American history. Sorry, I'm just trying to make this better. So, because I'm going to read something to you and I want it to all make sense. Okay. Hold on. It's worth it. It's important. Okay, I know what I have to do. Here, I have to disappear, and I have to go like this, and I have to do this. Yes, and then I have to do this, and now everything is better. You see? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this idea of a book that would have 12, or I think 12 is kind of a good number, 12 chapters, and each chapter would be the story, the story of a different quilter, okay? And it's just a really cool idea, And I think as far as, selling it to an agent, it's not a hard sell. This idea of a book that's, it's 12 remarkable women, and their quilts. It's not a stretch. I don't think it would be hard to sell. And I looked at, nonfiction book proposals, which I've actually written one of them before, and agents were interested. Years ago, I pitched agents on a nonfiction book, and 4 of the 9 that I queried were interested, and I was like, oh my God. So I know how to write a good nonfiction book proposal. And so I looked about how to do it, and you have to give them comparables. You have to submit, what is this book like? This book you want to write, or this book you want to publish, what is it like? What are other titles that have succeeded in being published? And there's a million of these, and I've got a list of them, famous women in history or famous women in science. And, even the remarkable story of Henrietta Lacks or something is about this woman who people didn't know her story. They needed to. Of course, that was a full-length tale. But yes, well, okay, so Kelly. So what I did first was I made a list of the potential people in this. And maybe it's 50 quilters. I would like to give each quilter more room. And this is all conceptual, right? And by the way, the summary of the book, it really needs to be 500 words or less. So it's a page. So that's what I'm going to read to you, okay? And I was thinking about, who should be in the book, right? And so there were a few people who seemed obvious, right, that we would put in. And the idea also is that because I don't have time, but I don't have enough hours in the day to do all the things I'm doing. And there's a couple other, sort of projects on the back burner, on the middle burner, whatever, that I'll tell you about soon enough. But to research a book like this, I can't do it. But together we could do it. So Susan Armichael took down the names of the people who were like, oh my God, I want to help. Because the thing is, if this was a collaborative thing, I'd write it, because collaborative writing is, no, I'm not interested in doing that. I just can't. But, writing it would be my thing. But each nerd who would want to help would take a person, right? And be the research assistant for that person. And then God bless America, we could meet about that, and you could send me your research materials. Obviously you're going to get credit in the book and all of that stuff. But if I had all the research, I could read it all, look at stuff, and then write the chapter, It's not so crazy. This is not so crazy. And the first step to doing it, and we could self-publish it, that we could do that thing, and that's cool. But I have felt for a long time, I mean, we are in our quilt bubble, so often. And like, we want to get the quilt respected and known and cherished in the mass culture. Every time a quilt, pierces the mass culture, it's very good for everybody because everyone's reminded of how important quilts are, how awesome they are, whatever. So I think a major publisher, whatever, would be a good idea because they have the distribution and all that stuff. Anyway, so the first thing you got to do is write a proposal. You got to send it to an agent who's going to represent you, and then they try to sell the book, okay? And then you got to write the book. So the unfortunate thing, so I've got so much of the proposal ready, including the summary that I'm about to read. Kelly, okay, Kelly's on the list too. I don't know that you were on the other list, but you're on the list now. Okay, Kelly book, okay. But as I was looking at the book proposal format, you have to have a sample chapter. So I was like, damn, because I'm like almost ready to send this. I've got the comparables done. I've got the market done. They want to know who is going to buy this book. Is there even an audience for it? And I'm like, check. Obviously, we know there's millions of quilters in America. There's a very specific demographic of people who would be interested in this book, plus history buffs and people who are interested in women's history, right? So it's like, this is a book that could totally sell. But I need to have a sample chapter. That takes a little bit more time. So I have to decide who, should be the focus of the sample chapter. That I don't know. But one of the other things, Kelly, to answer your question, is I made a list of contenders, and the people, and a list of people who would not make the cut. First of all, the criteria is they have to be dead. I mean, these are people who lived their life is over now, and we're going to tell the story of their life, okay? With quilts at the center of all of these stories, So people who are living now, not an option, which is great, because that would be hard. Hey, Susan, I was just talking about you. So, and then I thought about, like Nancy Zeman, like, oh my God, Nancy Zeman. And I thought about the different G's Ben quilters. God, I hope I'm not wrong. Loretta Petway, I believe, is passed. Amazing quilter. Rosie Lee Tompkins. Rosie Lee Tompkins is a great example because she was on the list and I crossed her name off. And the reason that Nancy Zeman is a no and Rosie Lee Tompkins is a no. And the reason is because Rosie Lee Tompkins, her life and her quilts have gotten attention enough that for the first volume, right? That's the other thing. It's a scalable idea, right? Volume 2, volume 3, they like that. People want to know, can we sell this again if it's successful? Yes. Nancy Zeman wrote a memoir. Susan McCord has had exhibits and a lot is known about her life. She is one of the most famous quilters in the American quilt canon, right? People know Susan McCord's quilt. They do. Blob. Okay, good. Okay, no, everybody is on deck. Blob, copy editing. Okay, good. Susan. Oh, Susan's here. Can you write that down? Susan? It's Kelly, Naher, and Blobfish. Can you write that down and add it to the list of the people with the book? Okay. So Nancy Zeman, she has told her story. It's findable, Who else? And the G's Ben quilters, However, Estelle Witherspoon was the woman who handled the Freedom Quilting Bee. And people don't know her story. So the quilters who quilted in the G's Bend area, I just got gifted a book, the beautiful book about, so they have had their press time too. Is it enough? No. Is it always, but you get my point. But Estelle Witherspoon, that is a story that will make the cut, okay? So here is who, there was somebody else really great that would seem like, Harriet Powers. No, Harriet Powers, there was I think I counted 5 children's books that are all about Harriet Powers. Harriet Powers has gotten due respect, thank God. Not for this, not for the first time out. The first time out's got to be different. Okay, so here is the summary, you guys. And I have a potential title, but this particular title is tough. Okay. You ready? Okay. Let me make sure I don't do what I've done before, which is read a long thing and realize I've got... Okay, it's fine. Close that. I don't want that. Okay. American women have made quilts for generations. Poor women, women of means, women who can trace their bloodline back to the Mayflower or to a slave ship at Port Charleston. Midwestern women who packed their quilts in covered wagons headed west. Louisiana women who sewed everyday quilts around a frame for pleasure as much as practicality. Most of these quilts do not bear the name of their maker, but some do, and every quilt with a known provenance brings the priceless gift of a true story. With the stroke of a lawyer's pen, Bertha Meckstroth's body of work disappeared. Her will bequeathed all 34 of her odd, sublime, and utterly original quilts to her college, but her wishes were ignored. To date, few of Bertha's quilts have been located, casualties of a culture that refuses quilts' artistic legitimacy. In Jean Ray Laurie's quilts express both feminism and family, politics and people. For 5 decades, this quilt pioneer, devoted mother, and vocal feminist did the impossible. She inspired politically divided women to recognize their common humanity, and quilts were her secret weapon. In the vast landscape of quilt scholarship, few names are as frequently cited as Questa Benberry's. This preeminent historian and scholar's work ranged widely, but her specialty was in uncovering the multifaceted and often ignored quilts of her fellow African Americans. Bonnie Lehman created Quilter's Newsletter at her kitchen table in 1969. The first ever publication dedicated to quilt makers began as a stapled, mimeographed pages. It would later have a circulation of 400,000 and be credited as launching the quilt industry, today valued at $4 billion a year. A faded photograph shows a young Mary Gasbrook and her siblings wearing traditional Hungarian dress. 40 years later in Chicago, Mary made her first quilt and made up for lost time. The humble immigrant's quilts are now regarded among the finest in the American quilt canon. And then the last one I have, maybe. Before Molly Upton committed suicide at age 27, she and her partner Susan Hoffman exhibited their quilts in New York City galleries in the 1970s. Upton's life was cut short, but the impact of her haunting quilts can be seen 50 years later in the quilts of the 21st century. In conclusion, the struggles and accomplishments of these quilters, as well as their anonymous sisters, vary across time, space, and circumstance, but quilts are their common heritage, and ours. The untold stories of these remarkable makers deserves a wider audience. Quilt making is a democratic art, and as such, our quilts represent our country's highest calling. In telling the stories of incredible quilters, we reconnect with the intelligence, fortitude, and beauty of our patchwork nation. It's exciting. It's exciting. I want to read it. Okay, let's see. Had a message held. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, let's see. There was okay, I think I got it. Okay. So, you know what I think is the best line? And it's like, kill your darlings, and I try very hard, and someone will look at this, and make sure it's okay before we send anything, but I do think that this is good, okay? Most of these quilts do not bear the names of their makers. The quilts I described in the beginning. Most of these quilts do not bear the name of their maker, but some do. And every quilt with a known provenance brings the priceless gift of a true story. People like true stories, and all of these are true stories. So I think really connecting that with these are true stories, and that is a gift. We have the quilts and we have the story. What do you think? Yeah? Okay, good. Dee Dee Brew Crew, hi. I think, it'll work, you guys. It'll work. It'll work if you help me, because otherwise, not gonna work. And so then there's sort of more than that, but I only 500 words, so I had to grab people with these, little tidbits. But Estelle Witherspoon's got to be in there. So I'll make a list of the other quilters who should be in there. And, an indigenous quilt maker's got to be in there. I need to find Carolyn O'Bagey Davis could maybe help me with somebody who, anyway, So that's it. That's the show. Well, I mean, I don't want to cut it off right away. Sometimes I do that. I'm like, that's the show. Bye. Okay, Sonia is into it over in YouTube. She's like, that's an awesome query. That's good. Robin is telling Susan Michael that she'd help if her name isn't written down. Okay, so stay tuned. What happens next with I got to write a sample chapter. Okay, that's the thing that has to happen next. And I write a lot. I've been writing profiles of quilt makers for a long time, with Quilt Folk. And so, I've got a ton of writing samples that I could just send. It's like, I don't have a sample chapter yet, but look at all these other ones, but it's, no, we gotta stick the landing, So who should it be? Who should it be? And if maybe I'd say a couple people, if you want to help me research. But if a couple people do it, then, it's going to waste somebody's time because you're going to be finding some of the same stuff. So I don't know. But, and how long does a sample chapter have to be? It'd be a blast. And you only have to send one. With a nonfiction book, you don't have to send the whole manuscript. And the thing is, with this idea, and then I'll wrap it up, I promise, is, hey, thanks for subscribing, Noelle. That's awesome. I appreciate it. The structure of the chapter is going to be the same, basically, for each one. So a person who says, this could be really great, is going to have faith that, the chapters, okay, if a chapter looks like this, that makes sense, so it's not like, I have the first chapter of your novel. Where is this going? So anyway, I'm excited I really want to do it. And so, but it's priorities, man. It's hard. So the video's got to be done first. And then, so the bells and whistles with Twitch and the different things, we might have to, this might be the show. This is maybe, our sound effects and our subscription stuff, there's other things to do with Twitch. But for now, I'm going to set aside any other crazy additions maybe, and just focus on this. Because you know what? It'll never happen if we don't do it. It won't happen. So my mom says it takes a long time to make a quilt if you're not working on it. But if you're working on it, it doesn't take that long. Maybe that's the approach, is we got to get it done so it's finished. Anyway, thank you for letting me read that. Obviously, thank you to this community, because that's how this idea even came up. And to the folks who said you could mod or at least look at how to do it with me, I really appreciate that. It's got to happen. Because, we have a bot over in YouTube. It's just so gross, it's spamming weird Russian characters and stuff. Okay. Blobfish, that is great news. Your best friend is a mod for other channels. Oh, that would be so great. That would be so great. Maybe we could put your best friend on the call, because she or he could train us, which would be really good. That would be really good. Okay. All right. I'll either get in touch on Discord, but you're going to send me an email, twitch@maryfons.com. We did it. Okay, everybody have a great day. Tomorrow night, Quilter's newsletter. We're just going to read Quilter's newsletter. So, glass of wine, chips, your project, chocolate chip cookies, whatever it is, and we'll just do it. Oh, I can't wait. Okay. Love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow night.